Hi, everyone. My name is Advait, and I am the CEO and founder of Praio. And just yesterday, I successfully defended my PhD thesis at UCLA. Thank you. And today, I'm going to be talking to you about low-cost production of sustainable aviation fuel. So what is this, and why do we care, right? So the point is, 1 gallon of your jet fuel can produce 9.6 kilograms of CO2 when it is burned, and 22 billion gallons were consumed in 2023 in the US alone. And this number is closer to 90 billion all over the world. And the problem is deeper than that. It's because of the difficulty to decarbonize this industry is why this is so hard, because you cannot electrify your flights and you still need that high energy dense fuel, so you cannot blend it with something like ethanol, like you do with your cars, like E10, E15. And this problem is being realized by a lot of governing bodies around the world. And in the US, we specifically have the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Grand Challenge, or SAF Grand Challenge, where the goal of the government is to raise the capacity to make 3 billion gallons of SAF by 2030. The problem here is, as of 2023, this capacity is only at 13.8 million gallons. So you need to have that increase in capacity of 230 times in the next 6 years. So hence the urgency in this matter, right? So how do we do this? I mean, the fuel is burnt anyway, so the way you start is by using low carbon feedstocks and then converting it to jet fuel, such that to qualify it to be sustainable, it needs to have 50% less CO2 emissions. But how do you do that? So by conventional methods, if you do conventional engineering processes, these are energy intensive. And these traditional processes, more than that, the bottom line is very different. The cost of making SAF is 2 to 4 times higher than that of fossil jet. So already for us, the flight tickets are costly. It's gonna get worse, right? And this kind of hampers your commercialization process a lot, because how do you justify this? And this is where Praio comes in with our patented protocell technology. So we have made these artificial cells that can use biocatalysis to do a lot of different chemical reactions. And we want to leverage this platform to take these low carbon commodities and make SAF out of it. And I can tell you more about the technology, but the bottom line is, I believe we could save about $1 per gallon of SAF. So that is about 25% cost reduction. And because our process is less energy intensive by itself, we are also producing less carbon in the process itself. So we will have about 0.9 kilograms of CO2 lower per gallon compared to the traditional processes. So what I've done so far is I've done extensive customer discovery as a part of the NSF iCorps program. And there's been a lot of pivots and so on. And as of last couple of weeks, I got accepted in the Activate Fellowship at Berkeley. So I will be incubating my company at a DOE incubator at Cyclotron Road at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and I've got funding for that. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, first of all, kudos on doing the iCorps program and doing all those customer discovery interviews. I know it's not easy, and I have a lot of respect for an entrepreneur that goes through that. So my question to you is what did you learn from that? In particular, what is your what's it going to take for your most attractive customer segment to begin to pilot this, and what does that path look like?
Right. So like I mentioned, these protocells, right? These are a cell-free type technology, so we can implement different kind of reactions in them. So based on this, the first instinct you have is you go towards drugs, right? But there I explored that segment, realized that their challenges are not in manufacturing, they are in discovery. So pivoted away from that, went to food additives, pivoted away from that, and so on and so forth, till the SAF thing came along. So that's why this customer segment is important. And the way the commercialization works is we specifically will focus on ethanol to SAF conversion. So there are different feedstocks that you can use, because that is the most practical and scalable way long-term to do this. You can biodiesel, renewable diesel, perhaps, but the scale isn't just there. Used cooking oil, those are other feedstocks that people use, but not there. The scale isn't there. But ethanol, which is currently used in cars, its market share is decreasing as you keep moving to electric vehicles. So people want to move their ethanol to a different direction, and that's why they want to move it to aviation fuel. So that's the little take there. So this number is for ethanol to SAF specifically.
So on the cost of the process, how did you model that out? Lab tests, simulations. Talk to us about that.
Okay, let's see. So yeah, so I have the Aspen process simulations, right? So I have the numbers here. There are, of course, intrinsic assumptions in this process, but they are very well. They are a little extreme. They are assuming that taking it from a lab scale to a 100,000 gallon reactor is you're going to lose a lot of efficiency, about 10 times or so. So that's assuming all of that. So yeah, these are process simulations.
Could you share a little bit about the feedstock that goes into the product of, you have corn grain and a few other options up there, like what's the most viable? In long term, how do you secure long-term contracts of those products?
Right. So corn grain is the most natural one because there's about 196, I want to say, ethanol plants in the US that are doing this. And I have visited some of them as part of the discovery process. I did a bit of a road trip in Kansas. So they are already wanting to move to SAF. So they have already had collaborations with other companies, other startups trying to do this. So there is a market pull here to go. So I don't think it's going to be that hard to secure the contract as long as we can prove the technology. So it's because of the desperation, quote unquote.
What scale were the experiments that you've run so far?
Half a liter scale.
Half a liter. Okay.
Yeah, for the technology. I will also add there, our thing is specifically this ethanol to an intermediate product. That's what our proprietary method is. We have proven the platform, but in full transparency, I have avoided doing this to save the IP for the company and not the university.
Can you make the fuel with existing infrastructure, or do you need to change any part of the, oil and gas refinery stage?
Yeah. So ethanol to SAF is a new infrastructure that people are making anyway, without our process in there. The intermediate can be incorporated in that pipeline. So the low carbon feedstock to ethanol, corn to ethanol, we don't need to interfere with that at all. And the strategy there is, as other technologies evolve to make, like Lanza Tech does with its steel flue gases, with the lignocellulosic ethanol, whatnot, we don't really care about that as long as we have the ethanol, right? Our process is just that ethanol to that intermediate, and that again can ideally be put back into the ethanol to SAF direct process.
Can you quickly highlight who your customers that you would be potentially interfacing with? Is it from the ones that are actually producing the ethanol itself, or the off-takers or the refining agents that are turning into sustainable aviation fuel?
Right. So I mean, there's two ways to go about this, right? We can either license this to people who are making ethanol to SAF, or we can do it ourselves and sell it directly to the airlines. So the ethanol plants would be our key partners, but not our customers, because they are not going to buy our product. And at the end of the day, we are going to buy their ethanol. But that remains to be seen, whether we license or whether we can have the direct selling, because as of now, we still need to do more progress on the technology. So it's better to stay flexible and not, single track into anything.
Would your formulation require any modifications to the jet engines or on aircraft, I don't know, fuel storage or anything like that?
No. So that's whatever SAF that is taken, there's a standard for that. There's an HTM standard. So, and the standard is such that you can just blend it directly into your normal aviation fuel. So we are going to plan to meet that standard. So after that, it can just be blended without any changes.
Generally, what's the timeline for commercialization? You got funded now. When do you start seeing revenues come in and kind of grow and scale the business?
Right. So we will receive non-dilutive funding. I will start in July at Lawrence Berkeley. So within 2 years, the aim is to get to about 50-liter scale. And by 5 years, I envision us having a pilot facility of about 10 million gallons, hopefully. So after that, we can then start having a revenue. So again, the market is evolving so fast that you cannot really comment, at least I cannot comment on what that revenue will exactly be. But that said, the way I've put it, that the cost reduces, it's kind of irrespective of what your feedstock cost is and irrespective of what the selling cost is. It's the process cost. So that kind of gives us some security on that end.
I know this is going to be really rough, but given those assumptions, do you have a sense of how many gallons you need to produce to hit break even?
Can you please repeat?
Do you know how many gallons of fuel you need to produce to hit break even, roughly speaking, given the soft assumptions you just named?
So let's look at the capex, right? The capex is about 20 million. So I mean that's just but about 20 million, and that's for a capacity about 15 million gallons. So if we do take $1 per gallon off, which I mean that's a soft assumption, right?
Sure.
So within 1.5 years, I would say. But even if you were at like 50 cents per gallon, that's still 2-3 years.
All right. Thank you so much.